And we're going to get started with resolutions that get real results. That's the topic tonight. How you get real results. Like I said, I don't think it's the resolution that's the problem. In fact, what is it, like 60% of people make a resolution? Now, I think it's less than 10% actually achieve that resolution. And I don't think it has anything to do with the resolution. I think it's more about the tactics that we use to get the results that could use some refining. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, are the tactics that you can use to get real results. My name is CJ Johnson. My passion is helping people who are over the age of 40 look and feel their best so that they can age the way that they want to. And that led me to create this business, Age Well with CJ. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So let me ask you, the question of the day is this, is have you ever set a New Year's resolution? If you have, put a little thumbs up or say yes down below. And then I'd really like to know, if you're brave, did you achieve it? So if you've set it and you've achieved it, put it, or even if you haven't achieved it, put it down below into the comment section. So let's get into it tonight, and let's talk about those New Year's resolutions and how we can get them, how we can achieve them. I keep using that word achieve a lot, but how we can get the results that we're looking for when we say, I want to make a change in my life. So here's what we're going to look at tonight is when we look at resolutions that work, I really think that there's 4 things that are really key. The first thing is that we do one thing at a time. Number 2 is that we make it doable. We make it into small pieces. Sometimes we create this big whopping resolution and it's so large that we have a hard time accomplishing it. The third thing, we don't always start off on the right foot. We kind of jump in maybe without all the information that we need to. So getting started is really important. And then of course, accountability and how we achieve accountability. So those are the 4 things that we're going to talk about tonight. So let's go ahead and let's talk about one change. Change one thing at a time. I cannot begin to stress how important this part is. Now, it might be really tempting to look and say, oh, I want to lose weight and I want to start exercising and I want to quit smoking. I want to eat healthier. I want to eat more vegetables, whatever it is. It might be really tempting to look at all the things we want to change and then to say, yes, let's do these and let's do them all. Now, what happens to most of us is we get overwhelmed. We can't possibly build the success habits that are required to make a change. Because the fact of the matter is, as human beings, we're pretty hardwired not to change. Our whole body-mind combination wants to keep us in our comfort zone. And it's our comfort zone that creates our habits. Whether those habits, we define them as good or bad, I guess they really are neither, but they are habits. So it's our habits. We are a victim of our habits. So if we want to change something in our life, we have to change the habits that go around that. So here's what I want you to do. You look at one area of your life. Now, you can sit down and write down on a piece of paper everything you would like to change. I'd like to lose 20 pounds. I'd like to save $5,000. I would like to eat healthier. Write all of those things down on a piece of paper, each and every one of them. Then what I'd like you to do is to look at that list and prioritize it. And here's the question that you ask yourself to set the priority. That is, what is the most important thing on that list? What's the thing, if you change that, that is going to change your life? I'm going to go back to my weight loss story, which I was sharing a little bit in the pre-show. In my weight loss story, I knew that if I just lost weight, it was going to make a difference in how I felt and what I could do and how athletic I could be. So that was the place that I started first. So what's the one thing that you could do after you write these all down. What's the one thing that you could do to change that? So that's what you do, is you write them all down, and then you go ahead and you put out this list, and you put out 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now that doesn't mean that once you've prioritized them and you put them all down in order, that you have to wait till your next New Year's resolution or 2019 to start your next resolution. What we want to do is, by choosing one thing at a time, if we give ourselves about 30 to 45 days to build new habits around that one thing, then we can start to add in number 2 and number 3 and then number 4. So every 30 to 45 days during the course of the year is really like starting all over and building these brand new habits, so that we could get to the end of 2018, look back at it, and maybe we lost weight and we quit smoking and we quit eating out at fast food restaurants so often. Whatever it is that's on your list, we can change that if we make that a priority by changing one thing at a time and doing the habits that are required to change it. So does that sound good? Do you think that you could make one change at a time? I see Chris, we asked the question of the day has she ever really set a New Year's resolution? No, not ever really set one. Well, that's cool. Hey, I'm curious, Chris, if do you set goals? Because that's really kind of what we're talking about here, right? Is making sure that we are setting some goals as well. But these are those tactics that, whether it's a New Year's resolution or whether it's a goal, that can definitely help us. So just one thing at a time is what we're going to change first. Okay, so let's get to number 2. And we talked about in the overview, I kind of shared that number 2 is taking something big. Taking something big and breaking it down into small pieces. If your goal is to lose 20 pounds, I hope that we can agree you're not going to lose 20 pounds overnight. It's going to take some time. The average weight loss that a person loses is somewhere between 1.5 pounds and 2 pounds a week. So if we're just going to lose, let's say for easy math's sake here, we're going to lose 20 pounds, that's going to take us 10 weeks. So if we started on the 1st of January, theoretically, we are going to finish losing our weight, 20 pounds, sometime into mid-March, if we adhere to the plan that we have and everything goes perfectly. Now, I don't know about you. Things don't always go real perfectly. But so what we want to do is we want to take this goal, this 20 pounds, and break it down into smaller pieces. So as an example, when I was 100 pounds overweight, it took me I want to say about 8 months to actually lose that weight. So what I did is, for me, I broke it down into pieces by joining Weight Watchers. And I changed one habit at a time. At the time, Weight Watchers online was brand new. It had a point system. I could plug in the points into the online, into the computer, and I could stay underneath these points. Now, got to tell you, I didn't know a lot about that. All I knew is I wanted to lose weight. Didn't really know how. I needed some outside help. So I don't care what type of tool you use to do that. You could use Weight Watchers online. I offer coaching. I offer weight loss coaching. This is a good time to mention that if that's something, I do both group as well as personal coaching, and share the things that you need to do, or that I believe that you need to do to be able to lose some weight. That's another way to do it. You might have a group starting up at your health club this time of year. So there can be lots of resources if you're not really sure how to do it. And I'm just using losing weight as an example. There are lots of resources out there to help you to do that if you're not sure. So when I started with Weight Watchers online, I didn't start eating a lot healthier. Truly, I really didn't. What it was is it was points. And what I had to do to achieve these points is every single day I had to measure my food and I had to record my food. I had to stay underneath these points. That I could do. So I didn't really I didn't really change how I ate. What I did change is I changed portion size. So I wasn't eating a lot healthier then. I wasn't eating a lot more fruit and vegetables. I was just simply manipulating the food that I already ate to stay under a certain point value. Then I started to realize that after I'd done that for a while, that I got bonus points so I could eat a little bit more if I exercised. So then I started to add the exercise habit in. But I broke this down all into small pieces so that it was digestible. Because if I had looked at losing, oh my gosh, I have to lose 100 pounds, and I looked at that right away, I'm not sure that I ever would have been able to do that. What happened for me over a period of time, when I started that path, I was around 38 years old. The way that things were for me is I never cooked. If I did cook, it was something that I opened a box or opened a bag and put it into the microwave or into the oven. I ate out in restaurants a lot. Living in Milwaukee, it was very cheap to eat out in restaurants. There was a lot of good food and not extremely expensive. I also worked in restaurants. I had chefs that reported to me, so they were always making me really high calorie. There's a reason that we avoid restaurants when we're trying to lose weight. High calorie food. So that's where I started. Where I'm at today, I eat primarily vegan. I cook a lot. I eat tons of vegetables. And vegetables I kind of either never heard of or never tried. As an example, today I had artichokes on a salad. I have to tell you, 15 years ago, I didn't eat artichokes. I'm not even sure. I can tell you, I'm sure I didn't know how to cook an artichoke, let alone what it tasted like or how to prepare it or how to make it good. I avoided those things like the plague. My point is, what I just said is the key there. It was one step at a time, breaking it into small pieces. I didn't go from where I was to where I am today by just changing everything all at one time. I broke that down into small pieces and I worked the small pieces. So if you're looking at your plan and you're not sure where to start, see if you can get some help, but ask yourself this one question. When you're breaking it into small pieces, what do you think is the one behavior that impacts that most negatively? As an example, we're going to go back to weight loss. If you look at weight loss, for many of us, eating out or fast food is the one negative behavior that impacts it immensely. For other people, it could be chocolates or sweets. What one thing could you change? Maybe it's portion size, like it was for me. Maybe you just need to start measuring things. So look at that one behavior, and that's the one place we start, is with those small pieces. So we're going to break it down from losing 20 pounds to here's what I have to do on a weekly basis. And then you take and you break that down to here's what I have to do on a daily basis. So break it into small parts and get some help if you need to. So does that sound like something that you might be able to do? If it does, give me a little thumbs up down here in the comment section. Break it down into small pieces, and if you can, get help. So those are the first two things. Change one thing at a time. Set it down into small pieces. Let's move on to number 3. What we're going to do here is create a getting started plan. I think that sometimes, at least I know for me, every time that I have jumped into something without knowing what to do, I was setting myself up for failure. And I think that happens with a lot of us. Now, over the next 2 weeks, so next week, we're going to talk about in great detail. I'm going to do a whole show on setting up a weight loss plan, how to get started, what are the steps you need to take. The following week, I'm going to do the same kind of show, only focused on exercise. What are the steps that you need to take so you can build that habit over a period of time without overwhelming yourself? Because again, as creatures of habit, we just kind of want the easy way out. So here's that getting started plan. You know, think of something that you maybe have done at work. If you're handed this big project at work, you stop and you take and you break it down into pieces. And once you've done it in small pieces, like we just talked about, now you may need materials or resources to help you get started. So if you're doing a project, you may need whiteboards, or you may need calendars. So you have to order those, and you probably need those before the project actually begins. The same can be said of our health and wellness. As a quick example, and like I said, I'm going to go into this in more detail next week, but as a quick example, when I'm working with clients, one of the things that we do is, once we've broken our goals down into very small and manageable pieces, things that are doable, we pick a day that we're going to start. And chances are it's not tomorrow. It maybe is a couple of days away, so that we have all of our pieces in place to be successful. So once we pick a day to start, then there are a couple of other actions that we take. One of those actions is cleaning up our cupboards. There are a lot of times when, if you look in somebody's cupboard and they haven't been on a weight management plan, there are some foods in there that probably aren't part of the plan. For me, if the food is in my house, it can be so tempting to eat it. And I don't think I'm alone there. I think most people are pretty much the same. So one of the things that we do prior to our start date is actually clean up our kitchen and get rid of that food that could derail our new weight management plan before we ever have the chance to build the habit. So by breaking it into small pieces and then getting detailed and setting a plan, that's going to help us. So what you need to do is just simply look down at this detail and start by saying, whatever your goal happens to be, what's the first most logical step, the next most logical step, the next. And again, don't be afraid. There's a lot of good resources out there for you. The internet. Come back next week. We'll talk about weight management if that's which one of your goal is. But there's a lot of great resources out there to help you if you don't know quite how to do it by yourself. But here's my advice on that. Do the next right thing. So, does that sound good? Does that sound like something that you might be able to do? Give me a little thumbs up down below if you think you can do the next right thing. Cool. Again, I love Facebook Live. Sometimes it just kind of stops, so I stop seeing some of the comments that are coming in down below. Sorry about that. But okay, so we've changed. We're only going to change one thing at a time. We've taken that goal and we broke it down into small pieces. We've created a getting started plan, and now we're going to get to our fourth thing. Oh, wait a second, I kind of forgot this, but I'll go back and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Okay, we're gonna go on to accountability. I love this saying. Accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. And I truly believe that, because I think whenever we make a commitment to change something in our life, we really are looking for some results. And there's two kinds of accountability, right? There's basically an external accountability and an internal accountability. And sometimes we do better with one versus the other. Sometimes we can be accountable to ourselves. As an example, when I first started out, I couldn't be accountable to myself. I just told you about the Weight Watchers example. I was accountable to a program online. Now, some people, and you're probably familiar with Weight Watchers, you know that they have an online program, but you also know that they have a meetings program. I didn't need the meetings. Just in terms of going there and meeting with people and kind of getting those tips and tricks, I could read those on the internet. I was really busy. I was right in the middle of my career at that point in time. So I found a way. I was motivated enough to be accountable to that program. And I have to tell you, I was 100% diligent. I wrote down whatever I put in my mouth. And I wrote it down before I put it in my mouth. That's why that program worked for me. I stuck to it by the letter. You have to kind of look at yourself. How are you better at being accountable? Are you accountable? Do you do a good job of being accountable to yourself? Are you better with other people? Like, as an example, if your goal is exercise, I'm the kind of person that I can exercise at home. I can be very accountable to myself because I've built the exercise habit. But when I started, my first accountability partner was my husband. I hadn't exercised. I was starting to lose some weight. So I probably had spent a month on the Weight Watchers program. I probably dropped about 8 to 10 pounds in that first month. The weight was coming off pretty fast at that point in time. I knew I needed to start exercising because I told you I knew about those points that I could maybe eat a little bit more food if I had some of these extra points from working out. I asked my husband, John, if he would walk with me. So we had this half-mile long driveway, and he and I started walking together. He was my first accountability partner. My next accountability partner was a personal trainer. That came later on down the road. Eventually, all of that worked. I worked my way into the place where I could be accountable to myself. I had built that habit over a period of time. Now I can write down, here's what I'm going to do during the course of the week, and I hold myself accountable, and I get up and I get it done. So the question really to ask yourself is, do you need internal or external motivation, and set up the accountability? Now, we really have another great thing, and I didn't use this then. This is definitely something that I use now, but you can use some apps, right? If you're maybe not into Weight Watchers, some of our apps are just absolutely amazing, and two of my favorite are MyFitnessPal and Lose It. These are free apps. They are things you can write down how much you're working out, how much you're exercising. So if your resolution is to lose weight or to get into an exercise program, these are great apps that can help you to do that, because as you write it down, as you put it in your phone, you see it right there in black and white in front of you, and there's something that can keep you accountable. The slide that I skipped just a little bit ago was also apps that are designed to help you build your habits. There are two that are, one is called Done, and the other, I am trying to picture the slide in my mind here. Let me see if I can go back here for just a second. Let me see if I can get to this one. Here we go. Okay, one is called Done. That's the one down here. Again, that is a completely free app. And the other one is called Habit Builder. Again, free apps. So take advantage of technology. Those are things that can help you to be more accountable to others. Now, here's another one. This is social media. You can put it out there on social media that, hey, I'm trying to change this, or I want to do this. Or my goal is to spend 10 minutes every day just unplugging. And you could put that on social media. It can be a really great motivator for people. Darren Hardy, a few years ago, he's from Success Magazine. He wanted to spend 10 minutes of quiet time a day, and he just really couldn't find a way to do it. And what he ended up doing is saying he started posting pictures of sunsets, because if he was going to go to the beach and watch the sunset, he knew that he had to get there a little early, right? It's not like you can just drive in and see the sunset. You kind of got to wait for it. And during that time, he mellowed out, took some breaths, and that was his 10 minutes of quiet time. And he did that by posting pictures of the sunsets on social media. So maybe if your goal is to try and cook a little healthier, post a picture of food. I mean, my God, there's food all over social media, right? So social media can be another strong accountability factor. So whatever it is, look at what is the best way for you to be accountable, either external or internal, and try using one of these resources. So you think accountability can work for you? It definitely works for most of us. So let's go back and just take a quick look, and we're just going to review this. Remember, some of the things that we talked about here, excuse me, we're having just pick one thing. That is all we're going to do. We're going to do one small change. We're going to start, and we're going to break it into pieces. Then we're going to put together a getting started plan. And then lastly, we are going to find a way to hold ourselves accountable, versus internal versus external. Do you think that's something that you can do, is putting it in place? Give me a thumbs up. Those are easy. You can pick one of those up. Now, I have to tell you, I do have a resource. Specifically, I know that most people around this time of year are really anxious to change or to manage their weight. So I have a resource that's going to help you to start putting some of those goals into place for yourself. And this is a free special report. It's 10 myths about losing weight. This is about a 10-page report, and it's chock full of good information to do some of that myth busting and help to put you back on track. And you can get that by going to agewellwithcj.com/10 myths. That is there for you. Now, like I told you, one of the things that we've got coming up over the next couple weeks, this is actually the first in a series of 5 different topics, helping us to kick off and get the health and fitness that we really want in 2018. So next week, we're going to be covering that getting started plan in detail, how to set up your getting started plan if your goal is weight loss. The following week, we're going to cover that getting started plan if it's exercise. So what I'd like you to do between now and next week is go through, write down everything that you want to change, pick the one most important thing to prioritize, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to set up a plan in detail to help you to achieve that. So that'll be coming up next week. Now, in the meantime, if you got any questions, make sure you put them down in the questions below. I look at this afterwards, and I'm always happy to answer questions that may come up, because I know more of you see this, not live. What's the right word? Recorded. More of you see this recorded than you actually do see this live. So don't feel like you can't answer a question just because you were not here live. So that is resolutions that work for this evening. I hope you can take this information out and you can train smart, live bold, and age well. We will see you back here next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Have a great night, everybody.